Now, WION Zeba Khan got the opportunity to speak to the cast of Devotion, namely Joe Jonas, Jonathan Majors and Glen Powell. The film is based on the inspirational true story of Jesse Brown, the first black aviator in the history of the US Navy, and his enduring friendship with fellow fighter pilot Tom Hudner. Helping to turn the tide in the most brutal battle in the Korean War, their heroic sacrifices ultimately make them the Navy's most celebrated wingmen. Take a look.
The North Koreans came pouring over the 38th parallel.
This is war, and we're up.
It's a beautiful story of friendship, a group of guys who go into the face of battle not knowing what to expect and losing some good people along the way.
The commanding officer called you one of the best pilots he's ever seen.
Devotion is a story of two fellas, Ensign Jesse Leroy Brown and Thomas Hudner, two men from two different cultures, two different worlds, meeting in the U.S. Navy. They are naval aviators, which is one of the toughest jobs there is for anybody wearing wings. That's a quote from the film. And these two men discover things about themselves and each other in an attempt to fulfill their own personal legacies and to fulfill their own personal destinies. And they end up having to use each other, and their devotion to each other is what ultimately unlocks that door.
We bring everyone.
Interesting part about trying to describe this movie, you know you're onto something great when you can't sum it up in a log line. You know, I think it can be summed up in terms of, you know, you could talk about Jesse Brown's story, you could talk about the first African-American naval aviator, you could talk about what Tom Hudner did for Jesse Brown. You could talk about the experience of the 32s, the Korean War, you know, the Forgotten War. You could talk about, you could come at this story in a lot of different ways, but I think it's such a Trojan horse of a movie because it's a war movie that ends up becoming a love story.
JD is fantastic. If you are curious or concerned or have a question, you can look to your left or right, and you're sure as hell JD's gonna be right there.
I sat down with JD for the first time. It was like a 4-hour meeting where we just nerded out on aviation and filmmaking, and you could tell that he's a guy who just cares.
JD is the most empathetic, beautiful, intelligent director that I think I have worked with to date. As a protagonist, you only dream of having a director like JD.
Ready, set, hit!
And then what you fighting for?